So this is interesting because we've covered this before, but I just want to show it to you again because we're doing it again. So we end up funding terrorists that end up actually using our funding and our weapons against us. We do this over and over and over. We funded, do you know we funded Al-Qaeda? Yes.
Yeah,
and
I saw
ISIS.
Rainbow 3.
In Syria, we did that for sure.
Oh, now, yeah.
So before 9/11, Osama bin Laden and his fundamentalist friends and the Taliban were hailed as heroes by the West for their anti-communist credentials. Here's an article from 1993 showcasing this anti-Soviet war. That's him.
Look at him.
That's Osama
He
bin
looks
Laden.
like Jesus Hussein Christ himself right there.
That's right. And it says anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. So that's how they covered him back then. That's how they covered him. And then, of course, we funded him. And then, of course, he came back to try to kill us. And Hillary Clinton talks about it here. Oh, wait. What happened?
I'd love to find the thing where we get Saddam Hussein's
remember here.
I'm sorry. What?
Remember Saddam Hussein's getting the key to the city of Dearborn, Michigan? There's got to be a clipping of that when he came to America to get the key to the city.
Did he?
Yeah, back in the day when Iran and
I
them
don't
were fighting.
remember that. Oh.
Yeah, Saddam got the key to Dearborn, Michigan from the mayor.
All right, so here's Hillary talking about this.
Let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union.
Oh, wait a minute. So we had a proxy war against the Soviet Union 30 years ago, and we funded these people in an effort to fight a proxy war against the Soviet Union. And then those people we funded turned out to be terrorists who then used it against us and knocked down the Twin Towers. I wonder if there's another situation that's similar to that, Kurt. Would anything be happening today that's kind of like that? Like, is the United States having a proxy war where we're funding the worst people in the world? Like, I don't know, say Nazis.
I mean, I can't think of anything that isn't Putin propaganda, if that's what you're getting at.
So here we go.
We invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia.
Just like we don't want to see them control the energy flow to Europe. Right. So we're having another war with them.
And we went to work.
We went to work by funding terrorists. That's how you go to work.
And it was President Reagan in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these Mujahadeen. And let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union.
Yeah, we saw Charlie Wilson's war starring Tom Hanks.
So this is all an effort to fight the Soviet Union.
And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, it wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow because we will harvest. So we then left Pakistan. We said, okay, fine. You deal with the stingers that we've left all over your country. You deal with the mines that are along the border. And by the way, we don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we're sanctioning you.
We're building a relationship that just did not exist. I said in our last trip when you were with me that we had a huge trust deficit, in part because the United States had, to be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting. How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of Mujahadeen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall, and we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's going to be so much better. Now you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
This is where you see what a scumbag she is, because she's fully knowledgeable of all the things. It's never a mistake.
They all know exactly what they're doing. You don't think that her and Barack Obama knew that they were keeping the people in Haiti oppressed for corporate profits by keeping them at 31 cents an hour? U.S. and NATO allies arm neo-Nazi units in Ukraine as foreign policy elites yearn for Afghan-style insurgency.
It's only like 5% not. I'm going to be my friends. I did their show. It's only like 5% Nazi. Like the Mujahadeen is only like 5% Al Qaeda.
I like how they go from there's no Nazis in Ukraine. That's a Putin talking point.
Yeah.
Okay, there's just a few Nazis. Okay, everybody has Nazis though somewhere.
But
That's
wait,
how it went.
The president's Jewish. So
Yeah,
explain
that's
that,
right.
Jimmy.
Oh, that's it. I skipped that one.
Can you explain how Zelensky's Jewish?
It goes, all right, that's right. That's it. I forgot that one. It
Because
goes,
you know how they could never figure out to not immediately kill the Jewish president so they could get our weapons and
so we're doing it. We're doing it again. History is repeating itself. Who said it? Where history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Well, this is rhyming like this is a motherfucking.
I
good
say
rhyme.
history doesn't repeat itself. Putin just lies.
This is this is like an Eminem rap. This is tight. This is rhyming tight.
Yeah.
So you're doing it again. So good for you. I can't believe that there's every other YouTube show is on board for this Ukraine war in the dumbest way possible. Why do you go to YouTube for your news? If you want to get that kind of news that you get at the Young Turks or at the Breaking Points over Ukraine or Kyle Miles Kalinske, why wouldn't you fucking go to MSNBC or CNN and just get the bullshit in really pretty graphics?
Yeah, right.
Why would you want to go get misinformed about Ukraine from guys like Kyle Kalinske, Breaking Points, the Young Turks, MSNBC contracts? What do you get out of that?
I get to stay Dottie Sandusky upstairs while Jerry gives freedom to those boys in the basement while I wash dishes and pretend not to hear.
But again, I want to say to those people, thank you for the lane. Thank you for being, because every time I cover Ukraine correctly, it gets hugely popular. When they cover it, they get ratioed by their own viewers.
Don't do your own research. I made that clear to my buddies. I'm like, I don't want you to look into anything. They're like, well, can you explain? Don't look at anything, man. I want you to feel forever an Eagle Scout in your heart.
It's amazing. Again, thanks for the lane. Thanks for the lane on the Pfizer vaccine. Thanks for the lane on lockdowns. Thanks for the lane on mandates. Thanks for the lane on Ukraine. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's very helpful. So every once in a while I get a little worried, like, boy, am I being individual enough? Oh no, believe me.
In fact, just remember the argument has about authoritarianism, and the definition of authoritarianism was they had was how Putin's like oppresses the oligarchs there. And I mean, this is why I'm no Joe Rogan of debates, because when it's that's stupid. Like I can't even help.
Yeah, I know.
So you're not worried about all the people on the bottom under authoritarianism. You're worried. You're worried that Putin was mean to Russian oligarchs. By the way, the worst kind of oligarchs.
It reminds me of an argument I had with a comedian friend in Vegas, and we were talking about just liberal versus conservative, whatever. And I go, what's wrong? He goes, well, the Democrats have been running New York. And I go, okay, so what's your problem with New York? Right? I have a lot of problems with New York. I wonder what his was.
Right.
And his first thing, and the only thing he'd come up with, was rent control. He goes, now why should a guy who owns a place have to have the government tell him how much to charge rent? And I go, so you looked around New York and the biggest problem you found, the victims were the landlords, the people who are the property owners.
Well,
and these are the people you want to advocate for, the property owners in the richest city in the fucking world. That's who the victims are that you want to go help. Do you see how people...
Well, if you don't like rent control, stop letting all these foreign investors just buy buildings
that's
up
right.
and let people build new buildings and not have exclusive...
That's
because
right.
rent control... That's like a crappy thing that they have to have, or no one could stay.
Or
there.
no one could stay.
It's
there.
not a good solution. You literally can't fix the other massive problem. You know.
I used to be all for rent control, and then I found out the truth about rent. I had rent control. I was super for it.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the developers, real estate people, actually control the government. So even if you vote in rent control, they vote in a way to fuck you anyway, which they did.
Because it's better than doing they don't do affordable housing.
Or just any housing, right?
Because you want.
So now they only build luxury housing, and that's their way around creating housing for you. So when they tear down a building, they don't build another building with affordable housing in it. They build the luxury apartments, and so now they don't have to fucking worry about you. That's how they did it. And they passed a law saying you can't build any more apartments. Anyway, Hey, we're going to see you in Miami, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Burbank. That's right, the Saturday after Thanksgiving here in Burbank, and lots of dates in Los Angeles in December. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets and join our premium program when you go there too.